crafters, Lisa here from Fun Stuff Crafts. So I'm back again with you guys today on making masks, and I keep trying to figure out ways that I can use up all of my stash. And so I am working on version 3 for you guys here today. So let's just review really quick what we've already made. So version 1 was my basic mask with my elastic. And if you guys all remember, what happened is I made these and then all of a sudden elastic was in short supply. So version number 2 was the same pattern. I went and found headbands and I put those in, and then I also added some interfacing on these. So these ones work out really good. They can go right around and you guys are set and ready to go. Now, version 3. Version 3 is using bias tape. You guys can guess I'm a Seahawk fan. It has been so much fun going through my stash of material. I had no idea I had all kinds of Seahawk material. So I want to show you how this one works. No pleats on this one. This one just ties right up. I've got the part that comes around my head, my ears, and then I just need to tie this one, and we are set and ready to go. Now this is the first time I've done a version. See how you can tighten that up. I've also added a pocket in this one. So let me take it back apart so you guys can see it. In this one, we have made a pocket in the inside of it. And so I've been seeing lots of people talking about putting filters in just to give it even more protection. So this is version 3. I'm going to show you guys how to do it, but before I do it, big disclaimer here, you guys. These masks are not going to stop the coronavirus. These masks are going to give you added protection and really good idea to use. I've been making them and donating them to our local one of our senior homes. Took those up and actually for the workers, and seen lots of different people making masks. So there's just so many different things, but please remember, read up and do your research. CDC has some really good information. Your state and local health departments have great information on how to protect yourself. The biggest thing, you guys, is wash your hands. I keep telling everybody that. But in the meantime, I want to show you guys how to make version number 3 of this mask. So using bias tape with a pocket. So give me a second to get my camera angle changed and let's get making. Okay, crafters, we are back for version 3 of our masks. Now this version is using bias tape, and it actually is one that can cinch up, so I haven't even put the pleats on this one. So it is just cinched right up. And I will tell you, it has been so fun going through my stash of material. And as you guys can probably see, I'm a Seahawk fan, and I had all kinds of Seahawk material on hand. So we're going to walk through how to make this one with bias tape. So I'm going to set that off to the side right now. Oh, the other thing, let me show you too, is this one we're going to make so that you can put a filter in. So I've seen a lot of people online making ones with a filter. So again, it's 100% cotton, it's washable, so it's reusable, and we can add a filter. So what we're going to do for this one is we are going to start out with one piece of your main material, and it is going to measure 10.5 inches by 7 inches. So 10.5 by 7. And then the 2 back pieces are going to be 9 inches by 4.5 inches. So we're going to do 2 of those. Okay? So we've got one piece that is the 10.5 by 9 and 2 pieces that are the 9 by 4.5. And then we are going to cut a piece of interfacing to be the same size as our main piece. So I just picked up this featherweight interfacing just to give it a little bit more stabilization to the mask. So the very first thing we're going to do is we are going to take our interfacing, and wrong sides up, we are going to iron on our interfacing. Now, if you've never used interfacing before, it normally has a very smooth side to it and then kind of a little bit rougher side. And the rougher side is what's going to help adhere to the material. So you definitely want fusible interfacing for this project. So I'm going to go ahead and take this over to my iron, and I'm just going to press that down. So I'll be right back. Okay, so now you can see I have ironed this on and it's all one piece. Okay, so that is the first step we're going to do with that. We're going to set that off to the side for a minute because now we're going to work on our packets. One thing I forgot to tell you also that you're going to need is bias tape. Now, I have had a lot of fun going through all my stash, and I had a whole bunch of bias tape. So this is 1/4 inch double fold bias tape. And you can make your own bias tape, or you could even use like a ribbon. I'm just really trying to use up my stash. This measures 50 inches long. So I went ahead and measured it, and I've got 50 inches. So we'll be using that in a minute. But first, let's start with our back sides to make the pocket piece. So what I've done is I've went ahead and I've taken the two pieces, and I am measuring just 1/2 inch up. And you can do this by sight, but I just went ahead and went 1/2 inch up, and I took my pen and I'm literally just making a line right across there. Okay, so I did that on this piece, and I'm also doing it on this piece. Okay, so what I'm going to do now is I'm going to take these over to my iron, and I'm going to press right on that line. Okay, so I'll be right back. Okay, so I went ahead and I've pressed both of these pieces. Okay, so what we want to do now is I'm going to take my machine, and I'm just going to do a 1/4 inch seam down both of these sides. Okay, just pull the machine out here real quick, and I'm just going to go ahead and put that right in there. And this is just because we don't want any of the edges to ravel. Remember, these are machine washable. We want to make sure people are able to stand up in the washing machine. So we want to finish off all of our edges. So I'm just going to go ahead and run a 1/4 inch seam right down there. Another one right in there. Now you guys definitely can do a thread match. I have not been worried about matching my threads on this project at all. But definitely, if you want to spend the time, I've just been making so many of these, so I've been trying to stick with the same color of thread throughout. Okay, so now what you're going to do is we are going to take, and what we want to do is we're going to center these. And you're putting right sides together, and this is how we're going to create that pocket. Okay, so go ahead and put one down at the top, and then you're going to put another one right here. Okay, does that make sense? And then what we're going to do is we're going to grab some of our clips, and I'm going to clip those, because all I'm going to do is I'm going to put a seam down on the top and the bottom. Now the middle, I don't have that quite even though, Lisa. Let's make sure we get that even. Those sides, what we're going to do is we're going to bring them in a minute and create the casing for our bias tape. So that's why you've got those a little bit longer out there. Okay, so all we're going to do is we're going to put a stitch right down here, a stitch down there, and then we're going to press our so now what we're left with is we are left with something that looks like that. Okay, so I'm going to take these over to my pressing board and I'm going to press down both of those. Okay, I'm going to press the seam first and then I'm going to bring it over and press it. So I'll be right back. Okay, so now this is what we've ended up with. Okay, so what I did is I pressed my seam open first. And then I pulled it over and I pressed it this way. So we have a nice clean finish. Okay, so now you need to decide which pocket you want on the, which top you want on the, flap you want on the top. Can't even talk today. Okay, so this is what we've got so far. Okay, those are our steps. Now what we're going to do is we are going to create our encasing. Okay, so I don't want to just fold it over this way because I don't want those raw edges. So again, I'm going to take it over to my iron and I'm going to press just a very small press right there, and then I'll press it again, bringing it in just a little bit. And that is going to help me create my casing. Okay, now just to eyeball that, like to give you guys an idea, I would like that casing to be right at about 3/4 of an inch. Okay, so 3/4 of an inch is where we're going to end up stitching. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and press those over and then we'll come right back and we'll do our stitching. Okay, so I've got these. See how I press the little seam there, just a little bit flap over, and then I'm just finishing off my edge there, just so it's nice. You guys can see I've got the flap here, so once we sew that, we'll have a nice flap. Okay, so that's what the front looks like, and then this is what the back is going to look like. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and just do a really close seam there. Now I have got where I can move my position on my machine, my needle, and so I'm going to go ahead and do that. So that way I can make sure I've got it nice and close. Then I'm just going to do a straight stitch right down here. Little back stitch. Clip my threads. And then, whoops, one thread decided not to clip for me. Okay, so you can see I've got that seam going down there, and then what I'm going to do is do the same thing here. Flip my seam again, and there we've got. Okay, so as easy as that. So now what we're going to do is, I always like to do my threads kind of as I go, get those out of the way. And then what you want to do is we are going to take our 50 inches of our bias tape and we are going to thread it right through. So we're going to go in one side and around. Now, you might want to look at like how I have it right now. I want my Seahawks to show, right? Or be right side up. So what I've seen on some people actually like to have the top part around the top of their head and then tie around the neck. And that might not make a whole lot of sense right now, but I'll show you once we get it done. So basically all we're going to do is we're just going to use our safety pin and we're just going to work right in through here. And you just got to be careful at the top here. This one came through nice for me. Okay, so I'm going to pull that through quite a ways. And then I'm going to come right back down the other side. Okay. And I'll make sure I model this for you guys so you can actually see how it's going to fit. Just have to make sure you don't get caught on the where we've got it folded up. Sometimes that happens. Sometimes you just got to work it and shove those edges back in. Okay, So now what we want to do is we just want to make sure that we're even. Okay? And your mask is done. Now you may want to just do a little knot down here at the bottom. That way it won't come back through the edge. But basically we have a mask. So see, this one will go around the head and this will tie. And then the way you can scrunch it up to make it fit better is once you have it on, so that takes the place of us having to put the pleats in it. And you've got the mask, and we can put a filter inside of it. So there is another version of the mask. I see so many different ones out there. As a reminder and a disclaimer, this is not going to stop COVID, the coronavirus, but it will give you an extra layer of protection. The other thing I've seen a lot of people post on is, and even my husband commented that, oh, this would be great when I'm working out in the garage just to have a mask. So it's not only for this pandemic we're going through, but we can use it for other things too. So let me know what you think. Give me a thumbs up if you like this video. If you guys have other ways you're making these masks, let me know. I'd love to hear about them in the comments below. I'm just looking for all different types of options to use up lots of my stash. So having lots of fun making these masks, and it's even funner donating them to some of our local retirement homes and seeing a smile on people's face. So thanks so much for joining me again today, and give it a thumbs up if you like this video, and don't forget to check out the rest of my blog at funstuffcrafts.com.